The man who designed America's public school system did not send his own children to one. His name was John D. Rockefeller. In 1917, when his grandchildren reached school age, he did not enroll them in the public schools his money had funded. He built them their own school, a private school in Manhattan called the Lincoln School. Small classes, real teachers, children allowed to think. The document explaining why has been sitting in public view since 1913. It names what kind of person American schools were funded to produce, and what kind of person they were funded to prevent. Almost nobody has read it. 1906. An office paid for by Standard Oil. A former Baptist preacher named Frederick T. Gates, Rockefeller's right-hand man, picks up a pen, and he writes one sentence that will decide what every American child is allowed to become for the next 100 years. Here is that sentence. In our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hand. Read it slowly. He is not done. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or of science. We are not to raise up among them authors, orators, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor will we cherish even the humbler ambition to raise up from among them lawyers, doctors, preachers, statesmen, of whom we now have ample supply. He wrote that about children, American children, the grandchildren of the men who had just fought a civil war to free their country from being owned. Gates's employer, John D. Rockefeller, was about to fund the construction of 912 public high schools across 11 American states. This was the founding philosophy, published in a pamphlet called The Country School of Tomorrow, shelved in the Library of Congress, where it still sits today. Almost nobody read it. Some historians will tell you Gates was only writing about rural kids. Read the sentence again. He said, "These people or any of their children." The memo meant what it said. Now the numbers. The General Education Board, the organization Gates ran on Rockefeller's behalf, was founded in 1902. Chartered by the United States Congress on January 12, 1903. Over 60 years, it would distribute $325 million into American education. Adjusted for today, roughly $28 billion. Between 1896 and 1920, the Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundations together spent more money building the American compulsory school system than the United States federal government did. Read that again. Two private foundations, funded by an oil monopoly and a steel monopoly, outspent the United States government on the education of its own children for 24 straight years. That is not philanthropy. That is engineering. Two men with more money than their democracy built the classrooms their democracy would learn inside. And the teachers knew. Before most Americans had ever heard of Frederick Gates, the teachers knew. 1915. The National Education Association, the teachers' union itself, passed a formal resolution, on the record, in public. You can find it today in the 1915 NEA proceedings. The resolution reads, in part, "We view with alarm the activity of the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundations, agencies not in any way responsible to the people, in their efforts to control the policies of our state educational institutions." That is teachers, telling the country that two private foundations were quietly controlling state education policy. 110 years ago. And nobody listened. 2 years later, it got worse. In 1917, Senator Chamberlain of Oregon rose in the United States Senate and warned the country directly. In 2 generations, they can change the minds of the people to make them conform to the cult of Rockefeller or the cult of Carnegie, rather than the fundamental principles of American democracy. A sitting senator, naming Rockefeller by name, naming Carnegie by name, saying out loud that 2 generations was all the system needed. That was 1917. Count the generations since. 36 years later, Congress finally investigated. The Reese Committee of the House of Representatives concluded the foundations had financed practices incompatible with the fundamental concepts of our Constitution.